What's up, Pod Pals? It is your buddy Adam. You're checking out Podcasting Business School, the show where I teach podcasters how to love their podcast like a hobby and build it like a business. We're doing a podcast audit session. I've got Carly from the Labor Lessons podcast here today. We're going to dig in and talk about some strategy to help her level up. So, Carly, welcome to the show.
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me. I'm excited and I'm a little nervous to be here.
Yeah, so I'm excited to have you. No reason to be nervous. This is always fun. This is what I really love to do. Doing the solo episodes, doing the interviews, that's kind of one thing. But when I get to dig in with somebody that, like, you've been in my challenges, you're a member of my Download Growth Club, and like we know each other a little bit. I'm like, oh, let's get some extra time and let's level up a little bit. So very excited about that. So, like I always like to do, let's paint the picture first. I need to know where you want to get to. So let's say we have an amazing conversation today. I say something brilliant. You're like, oh, this is going to be a game changer. And you implement and it starts to work. Like, what 6 months from today, if things are better than they are today, things are going very well with your show, very well with monetization, things like that. What would that look like for you?
Sure. So I'd like to have more listeners. I'd really love to have like a set schedule of when I do things, because I struggle with that a lot. I have two little ones at home, and it's hard to kind of find the time I need to do the things I have to do. As far as like my listeners go, I would love to hear feedback from my listeners about like, hey, the podcast helped them, find a provider who's better supportive for them, or they were better able to advocate for themselves when they went in to give birth. I talked to a lot of women who say that they didn't know how to advocate for themselves the first time they went in to give birth, or, multiple times, or didn't even know that they could advocate for themselves. So I'd love to hear feedback from my listeners that they're actually like getting something out of my podcast. That would be awesome.
Yeah. And how many episodes are you at right now?
I'm at about, I think I'm at 40. So I have about 22 or 21, I think, interview episodes. And then the rest are like solo episodes from me.
Okay, great. I like that balance. I love those solo episodes. So first thing I want to tell you is that you kind of having those like hunger pangs for more engagement. That's very normal for where you're at in your podcasting journey right now. So you're, when I talk about my podcasting success timeline, you're in what I would describe as phase 2, which is the post-launch frustration zone. You've launched, the honeymoon is over, and now you want some growth, you want some engagement, and you want some download, you want some money. So that it's just sometimes people feel like they are a one of one, like, outlier of why am I not getting any engagement? This is super normal. Like very, very normal. It's a big reason of why I do what I do on the show, is helping people do these little micro tweaks that help them get more engagement. But I do need you to know, like, you're in a very normal position. So does that make you feel a little bit better at least?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, good. Let's talk about the finding a rhythm and schedule thing first, because I feel like that's really important, because weekly consistent content is very, very important. And if we get a little haywire with when we can record and when we can put stuff out, when we can market, that could potentially lead to one of these situations like, I took a 3-month break and here's why. And we got to explain it all. So for like one goal that I love for any podcaster to have is to be what I call 3 weeks out. So if you are, recording, if it's a Monday, I want you to have everything already scheduled and ready to rock for your episodes this week and the next week, so that if you record something, it's for basically 3 weeks from this week.
Okay.
So what I do is I always have those 2 weeks of audio and social media posts scheduled, done, edited, ready to rock, just in case, like I go on a vacation, a kid gets sick, a pandemic happens, little things like that happen, and it throws off your schedule. So we have that buffer, and that way it keeps you from having that hiatus. That's like, oh, I just missed an episode that week. And all of a sudden it turns into a month, into 3 months. And then you feel bad about it. You're embarrassed and it's hard to come back. So just setting that 2-week buffer zone goal is a great place to be. So is that making sense so far?
Yeah, yeah, I did really well in the fall. I felt like I had a lot of interviews, like that I had done that I was in the process of editing. So I was about like a month ahead as far as like my interviews go. I just have a hard time, I think, getting it down and editing. So I would just like edit the week of to put out for
Yeah.
that week, even though I already had the interview done for a while.
Yeah. Okay. So let me just tell you what I do, and let's see how we can just kind of tease out the aspects of that make sense, that could potentially make sense for you. So
Mhm.
I operate on a 3-day work week. All right. So on Tuesday, one of the first things I do is record my new content for, the three weeks from this current week. So we're
Mhm.
talking on a Tuesday. This morning, I recorded a solo episode that will be coming out basically 3 weeks from today.
Okay.
And so I record that, and then I will take, I do 2 episodes a week. I'll take my podcast audit episode that I recorded, probably like 8 weeks ago, as I'm so far ahead on those. And I'm like, all right, I got to get the editing done. I've recorded my content. Now I need to do the editing. So I'll do the editing for both right then and there. And then I'll go like, okay, what social media assets do I need? I'll usually create at least one carousel right then and there, and then one video clip right then and there. And in total, I mean, this has taken me maybe a couple of hours on a Tuesday. And then I know I'm good to go. My episodes are locked and loaded inside of Libsyn. They're scheduled. I got at least a couple of social media assets that I can lean into, and we're good. So I just do that. I reserve a 2-hour block at the very first part of my Tuesday before I do email catch up, before I do any social media that day, before I do anything. It's let's knock all that out. I view, if I'm doing an interview or a podcast audit like this, I don't see that necessarily as like a part of my regular, like normalized weekly flow, or like the machine. That's just like kind of dumping things into the bin. And then when I'm in my flow, I go, okay, what's the episode for 3 weeks from today? There's a topic, need to record that. Boom, that's the first thing. And then I'll grab the podcast audit that's next on the list. Boom, put that in there. And so when I'm recording interviews like this, that just kind of goes into the holding area. And it's not necessarily, I got to record, one every week or 2 every week or a certain amount, and then immediately put those out. So is that making sense so far? Or am I
Mhm.
confusing? Okay.
No, it's good.
So just separating those two things out could help. And some people will just binge create, batch. That's what I'm trying to say, not binge, batch create their solo episodes. So if your solo episodes are 10, 15, 20 minutes, you could spend an hour a month knocking out 3 to 4 of those. And then you can do the same thing. Those go into the holding bin. You see what the next one is, and you just kind of start getting your pattern. Now to create that first buffer zone, that is going to take a little bit of work. That'll be like an extra week where you're like, I got to get a babysitter in here to, so I can free up a day, and I'm going to batch, upload, get all this stuff. And then I kind of get into that mode when I'm creating a new course or something. I'm like, all right, I just got to get crazy for a couple of days here, spend a little extra time, put the kids in front of the iPad, and let's rock and roll. So that's something to think about. And so are your kids at home the whole time, or are there daycare situations?
My older one goes to preschool,
Okay.
3 days a week, half days, and then the
Okay.
younger one is home with me all the time.
Okay. So we just have to also like consider, when are they distracted enough to where you could actually record audio? Like
Mhm.
that's important too, where, like just doing work or email marketing or social media stuff, no problem. I can have a kid hanging all over me and I'm good to go like that. A lot of times my daughter's running here asking me about something. She's like, Dad, it's usually something about YouTube. She's trying to find, I'm like, why are you trying to search that on YouTube? So now I've got to go and investigate. But, I set real strict rules, and they're older. I mean, older as far as like 7 and 12, where they understand I'm like, Daddy is going to be recording for
Mhm.
30 minutes. Do not come in Daddy's room unless someone is hurt or the house is on fire. And like, I lay those strict rules down. Like, you can do your iPads, but you got to have headphones on. You cannot unplug the headphones because we can have loud noises in the background. They just know this is part of the
Mhm.
thing. And then I come out and we celebrate. Oh, we can make noise again. And we all like aggressively make noise just to like, get it all out, because it's very tough for those kids to stay quiet. So that's kind of my strategy around that. But I think just finding that initial kickoff block in your week where you're like, here's where I'm recording anything that needs to be recorded. That's primary focus. Then we go into editing that content. Then we go into any social media assets pushed out 3 weeks in advance. And then once you have that buffer, all we do is keep the buffer until you need to use that bank where you do get sick, you do go on a vacation or whatever. And that way it's there and it keeps the content flowing. So any thoughts around that so far?
Yeah, that sounds good. I tend to do a lot of my recording like on the weekends when my husband's home or in the evenings. So that works. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay. Now, when it comes to the engagement issue, like you were in my audience engagement challenge, we kicked around a lot of ideas in there. But I think one of the ideas that I would love to see with you in your show is you doing like live consultations on your show with, like pregnant moms, like first time pregnant moms would be amazing, where it's just like, okay, what are you freaking out about right now? Or like, what's the big question? And then you just dive into one thing, like it doesn't have to be all the things, but just like you said, like finding really amazing care or what to expect from your doctors, like what, like all that stuff, the providers that you talk about, all those resources. Like, I think that would be fascinating and super helpful. And then you're actually building relationships with those people. And if they aren't podcast listeners, they for sure will become podcast listeners. So at first you'll be finding people on social media. And what I do is I look for opportunities to invite them to come on for a podcast audit. I'm like I'll meet podcasters. I'll go and speak at PodFest here in a couple of weeks. And I will invite everybody live from the stage. I'll put up a link. I'll be like, go here, go sign up for a podcast audit. Because a lot of these people have never listened to my show before, like half and half. So all those new people come flooding into my world. I build a relationship with them, and now they become podcast listeners. The other half of the people that come on will be people that are obsessed with the show and like, I want to go talk to Carly. And that's exactly what you're looking for, because like, they found you because of your show. They listened to your show, then they came on the show. Then you can have a legit conversation, help them out, but also get that feedback and be like, hey, what do you love about the show? Like, what would you like to see me do more of? And you can kind of grill them for some of those answers that you're looking for, as far as like, just getting that validation that people are actually enjoying it and getting high value out of it. So, me, I love initiating engagement. I love boots on the ground. Like, let's go and stir it up, because I did a lot of stirring it up for a lot of years. And like just now, like 7 years into it, I'm starting to get this like organic, other people are stirring now. Like, wow, these people are coming to me and they're sending me audio clips, and wow, people are listening from all over the world. It's super weird. And, it kind of blows my mind that people actually listen to my show. Like, wow, it's still super weird when somebody's like, love your show. I'm from Australia. I'm like, how did you find me? So anyway, so just know that A, you're in a very normal spot. B, I think you're going to have to do some stirring for a while just to really initiate those engagement conversations. But eventually it'll catch on, because you're in a space that adds a lot of value for people in a very important time in their lives. Labor, very important. So I think that you're going to build those super fans. So is that making sense so far?
Yeah.
I mean, how do you feel about bringing people on? Do you feel any hiccups in that process? I feel like certain podcasts, like therapy-based podcasts, weight loss podcasts, like body image, therapy-based podcasts, some people are like, I don't want to bring people on because they don't want to talk about their stuff. But I feel like labor, it's not like you're tagging them on social media. It's not like tag this pregnant lady on social media and shout her out. But it's like first name basis, using examples. I mean, I don't see a barrier to that. I mean, do you see people being hesitant to coming on and getting help from you in that sense?
No. I think that could be really helpful. The only thing that I would kind of hesitate about is like, I'm not I'm not a doula. I'm not any kind of like midwife. So I
Yeah.
would just speak from like my experience or other women that I know. So if
Yeah.
someone comes on and is like, hey, I'm, really concerned about this, it might be like, well, hey, I was concerned about it too. Like I can offer you my perspective, but
Yep.
I can't give you any kind of like medical or,
Yes.
advice about that.
Yes. That's a great point. And having some sort of disclaimer at the beginning and or end of this isn't medical advice. This is just personal experience and what I've done or what I would personally do, sort of thing.
Yeah.
That'll be important. That's very important on these. That's a very good point. And I think past that, it's exactly what you said. It's you being like, I knew people that went through this. I did go through this. I firsthand experienced this, and here's what they did or I did. And then just have a conversation back and forth, like what we're having right now, and it'll kind of unpack as you go. And all of a sudden, they've asked 2 or 3 questions, and you're able to come back with resources or answers or just some thoughts and opinions on your firsthand experience, and they're like, wow. And that just comes off so nicely on your show, because again, like obviously I'm a dude, never been pregnant, but I remember like my wife, like in full on freak out mode, like with our first child, Henry, like going up is just like not knowing what to expect. And, like I remember bawling her eyes out, worried that she wouldn't be a good mom and like all this stuff, just because all the nerves were ramping up. So I view your show as a real resource that these people will come back to. So, and I think it'd be kind of fun to do a after the birth episode, like follow up with some of these people and be like, and because it's talk, your show is labor lessons. So I think that would be super cool if you had them on afterwards, be like, what did you learn from your labor? Like, what was your number
awesome.
one takeaway? And then you can refer back to them freaking out about stuff and be like, okay, now you were worried about this. We talked about it. What actually played out, and kind of unpacking that. So you're in a unique space where like a follow-up on the back edge of this transformation could be super valuable for your audience. So that's something I would consider too, where towards, after you're done recording, be like, hey, I would be super interested in doing a follow-up episode after you give birth. What do you think? Or just have them submit an audio clip that you could be like, and here's our follow-up of the week. It's Jane from Baltimore. And it's just like, we successfully had a, 7-pound boy or whatever. And then like, I was worried about this. Here's how it actually went. Thanks, Carly. Our discussion helped a lot. So it's kind of like, that could be something towards the end of an episode, like a little follow-up segment. I think that would be kind of cool. So
yeah, I love that idea. Yeah.
Do you know me, like any opportunity that we have as podcasters to shine a light on our audience, I think we just got to go for it. And if we can shine a light on them by bringing their audio or them on the show, it's always good content. Like I always look for opportunities for how can I create content with my listeners, with my colleagues, or how can I make them a part of my show in some way, shape, or form. So I like that quite a bit. And then once you kind of break the seal on that type of content, where they're resubmitting audio, people are seeing listeners pop on to the show. When you do like a speak pipe call to action and ask people to send in their own labor lesson, like what's one labor lesson that you wish that since giving birth and you wish you knew before your first pregnancy, and you take that audio and you can stick it on the show, or a question of the week, same thing, stick it on the show. So I just know only from my firsthand experience with my wife, like how deep of a dive she went into finding information. We had all the books, all of them, and just like a crazy amount of information. She's freaking out about all of it. And if you can be this like condensed resource where it's like a hub, and it's known as like, you can come to the show, she's interacting with you in a lot of different ways. You can actually ask her freaking questions and get them answered. And if she doesn't know the answer, she will find resources for you to get the answers. I think that's something special to where you can create a community around this. And it's something that, I think that those super fans are just going to be natural. Like if they see you as some of the added value to a pregnancy, that's giant. So
yeah, that's awesome.
Cool. I feel good about this. I feel like that's a simple strategy that's going to increase expert positioning. It's going to increase your ability to work, directly and record content directly with your ideal listeners, and away we go from there. So, so before we head out, I want to challenge you. Action step, like what we talked about a lot, from your recording schedule, batch recording, to doing coaching style episodes, to kind of doing some engagement ideas. What is one action step that you can commit to me and all the pod pals out there that you could take action on in like the next 24 hours? Because I like to give people like a pinpoint focus of, all right, I'm going to knock over this first domino in the next 24 hours. So anything that you could focus on here in the next day or so to kind of kick things off from what we talked about?
Yeah, I would love to find a first-time mom who's pregnant and see if I could get her to interview for the show. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
All right, first-time moms out there, let's go. Hit it, Carly. Nice segue, by the way. Let's go ahead and shout out how people can get into your world.
All right,
obviously, website, show, social, all the things.
My website is at laborlessons.com. You can contact me through that website also. I'm on Instagram at laborlessons. Yeah, so that's it.
Outstanding. Carly, I think all podcasters have important messages, but people in your space that are like in these major life moments always have that extra added amount of respect for, where you're really helping people out and you're doing a true service to your listeners and you're helping them level up. So we really appreciate that. And, shout out to Carly, everybody. Go check her out.
Thanks, Adam.
Yes. All right. So all of you, if you want to come on and be just like our friend Carly here, and you'll do a podcast audit, make sure you head on over to the website, podcastingbusiness.school. Get signed up. I would love to have you on the show, whether you're a brand new listener just finding the show or you are a seasoned veteran. I had somebody DM me at the end of 2022, and he had a screenshot of his Spotify, and it said 109 episodes of Podcasting Business School listened to, which was like 48 total hours. He's like, I spent 2 full days listening to you, bro. I was like, thank you. Thank you very much. That's super cool. So anyway, if you want to be just like Carly, come on the show, do a podcast audit. We'd love to chat about your show. And with that, I'm going to send you out into the world, wishing you health, happiness, and many downloads. We'll see you on the next episode.